Hi everyone and welcome back. So in today's video I'm going to show you how I made those two little galaxy themed painting using the ink blocks that we received in the July scrawler box. These are very interesting to use. I'm looking forward to showing you how I made these, and let's just get right into it. Okay, so here we are, just giving you a second look at the galaxies we're going to draw. Also sorry for the background noise. Of course, my neighbors have to clean whatever they're cleaning right when I'm recording. That is life. So this is what we're going to do. The only different thing is that we're going to work on square shape paper in a square format instead of round. And also I am using the Caran d'Ache mixed media paper instead of the scrawlrbox paper, but all in all it's the same. I just have a slight preference for this one because it's smooth. It's more close to a hot pressed paper rather than this one that looks a bit more like a cold pressed paper, but all in all it's the same. So we'll be working with these bad boys. They are ink blocks. I have prior to those ones I have never worked with ink blocks or with ink in general, so that was quite a surprise. I must say that they behave more like gouache than watercolor when you're using them with water, because I did try to make more watercolor type paintings like this kind of transparent flowers, for example, and some of these have this granulated look that isn't my thing. I hate texture. You must be tired to hearing this, but I hate texture altogether, and this is not for me. I think these three are granulated, but these three aren't. I don't remember, to be honest, but all in all they behave more like gouache than watercolor. So to start, we are just going to map where we are going to put each colors, and I'm gonna start with the darker blue. These are very sturdy but kind of fragile, so don't be like me and go very hard when using them as pastels because they will break. So let's start with the darker purple. This looks like a navy blue, but it's actually purple. And so the first one we're gonna do is this one, right? I'm gonna start with doing a darker part in the middle. So we are using them as pastels for the first layer so that we have a base layer to work with, and then we'll use them differently. So I'm just gonna start with a darker middle. Don't try to make shapes as shapes. This has to be more organic if you want it to look better, because things in nature aren't perfect circles and squares and things. So just let it go. And also this is the base layer, so it's really not important. Then we will take this kind of medium blue and we'll go right around. Don't do too thick of a circle here, because we want a blended effect, but not too much. We'll put more accent with this kind of cyan. My camera stopped recording again because of updates. I don't have internet on either of my phones, so I don't know why it's doing this, and it's pretty annoying, so I don't know when it cut. But anyway, so if we're looking at the original, we can see that this round yellow shape doesn't take the whole piece, because that wouldn't look really pretty. It would look too made on purpose, I guess we could say, and it's not really pretty. So let's just let go. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't need to be symmetrical. Then we'll go back to this medium blue, and now it can take a bit more space. So let's just go. So this part will go more like there won't be a lot of yellow here, so that's why I'm just going a bit crazier on this side. And remember, these are like pastels, so the more you push, the more color you'll have in the end when we'll add water. But as a base layer, it really shouldn't be too important. Okay, now I'm gonna go with the lightest kind of yellow ochre color, and I'm gonna map where this is gonna go. Be careful not to touch the yellow and the blue together, because they'll make this kind of very desaturated forest green khaki, and it's not pretty. As much as we want this middle to be blended and then the yellow to purple to be blended, we don't want these two to be blended, otherwise we won't have that very nice nebula effect. And as I did on the original, I'm gonna have a darker spot here, so I'm not gonna add the yellow all the way there. Then I'll take the orange and I'll go right next to the yellow. These two look very similar when using them like this, but once you try to blend them together, they really look very, very pretty. You can see like the difference of hue. And then we'll add the red. And with the red, we'll go a bit more onto that darker area that we'll do. And here, if you go over the orange with that reddish tone, that's perfectly fine. And then we'll just go with the purple and add it everywhere else. And we'll take a brush and start working on those colors and blending them very slowly. What I would advise is, once you've done the dark purple, I would just clean my brush and go back with clean water and go from the outside in, so that we're not losing that darker blue, darker medium blue. And then when we want to mix them a bit, we can go from the inside out and have them mix. Again, please keep in mind that this is just the base layer. It doesn't need to be perfect, because we'll go over with a very opaque layer afterwards. And then with the cyan, again, we try not to go inside too much. We just activate that cyan. Also, there will be a lot of texture right now, and that's okay. We won't see that anymore afterwards. And then we just keep up going out. We can go inside out, no problem. It gives a more blended aspect, which is very nice. It tends to get very creamy if you don't have enough water on your brush, so don't be scared to just go in there, tap on a cloth and go back. Just be careful not to touch the yellow to really avoid having that ugly sappy green. Ugly to my standards. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to the purple and go out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, now with a clean brush and clean water, we're going to activate the yellow. And this part is important. We'll try to go as close to the blue as possible without touching it, to really create this yellow barrier. And if you touch the yellow, not on purpose, like you just went, oops, I touched it, you can just take some water on your brush and just clean it like this. And then you can continue your work. See, here I mixed a little bit, that's okay. I'm just gonna go there and clean, and I can continue. And then we'll go outside to the orange color. You can see what I mean? Now they look very different once the water is added. You can clearly see how orange that is compared to the yellow. There we go, and then we'll keep up going out to that reddish color. We really just want to achieve a nice blend. That's all we care about. And then we can slowly go into the darkest color, which is the purple. Once you're touching the purple, try not to come back in, because you will lose all the very powerful light yellows and orange we have. Better to go inside out. Don't forget that these are you can reactivate them. So if you have a very harsh line here, you can take a clean brush, reactivate it, and then go out. We reactivate and we go out. Yes. Just go into those small details. Okay, so now we are done, and that's what we are left with when it comes to the base layer. It looks very underwhelming, and that's completely normal. You have to trust the process on this. So we are going to go back to the purple, but now instead of using them as pastels, we are gonna go with our wet brush directly onto the block and adding the color. And this is where, I think it looks very close, like the usage looks very similar to gouache, because that's basically what it is. And then we go and get this very dark middle part. Also, everything has to be dry before we start the second layer, because otherwise it'll do a big mess. Then we will take this medium blue and we try to blend those two together. Nice. We go back. These are very creamy, so don't be scared to use a good amount of water. And then I want to add a bit more of that medium blue outside, because we lost it a little bit earlier. There we go. Then to the cyan. And we're just doing our thing, going into the medium blue a little bit to blend them together. Also, any kind of texture you do not like is unfortunately part of the process. It's not a lot, but there will be a bit of texture. Just keep in mind that all that texture you don't really like will be hidden with the stars that we'll be adding later on. So that really shouldn't be an issue too much, okay? Don't worry about that. Okay, I want to go back to the medium blue a little bit more. If when you want to add color, you can see the paper coming through, it just means that there's a bit too much water and it's reactivating the base layer. So just let it dry and we'll come back later. Starting to add a bit more of that medium blue on the outside, and now we can, on certain spots that you decide, you really don't need to do the exact same thing as me, just experiment. But on some part you can just decide that you want to go with that medium blue next to the yellow, not with the dark purple, but with the medium blue. There we go. Then I'm gonna go back to the cyan, because on this part I want the cyan to be the last color to touch the yellow. So that's what I'm gonna do. There we go. I wouldn't be doing this all around because the contrast is a bit less intense with this cyan than if we're using the very dark purple at the end there. But if you want to try, please do. So I'm gonna go back to this. It's a lot of going back, coming back in. Let's take this color back. It's really experimenting. When I did those first galaxies, I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I know how to do galaxies, but this medium feels so different than watercolor. Because I haven't done lots of galaxies with gouache, and as I said, this is very similar to gouache, so I was a little bit lost. And now I'm slowly going to take this very dark purple again. And as I said, I want to have, I want to have a high contrast, so I am going to use this right next to the yellow. And again, as you can see, we don't want to have a straight line. It looks a lot more natural if it's a bit messy. Gonna go back to this middle one and blend those two together. Very nice. Nice. I think I might want to go back with this and clean my lines a little bit there, and just assure that everything is well blended. Very cool. Nice. Now there's one thing I want to do that I did on the originals is the cyan is supposed to be a bit lighter, but as you can see, because we added a lot of ink, it looks a bit darker. So I'm gonna take a clean brush, pat it on my paper towel, or and just go back and lift it a little bit, because I want to find this lighter cyan underneath to add a bit of light again. There we go. I'm just gonna work around it a little bit so that it doesn't look like just one giant streak. Okay, I'll see if I want to go back later on to add a bit more, maybe over here too with the medium blue, but I'll check that later. Let's keep going, and now I'm going to start working on this darker area. So I'm gonna add a bit more of that red over here and over there. Go to that purple again. And work all of those together. The purple and the red look very nice together, so don't be scared to actually mix those. I'm gonna take another brush. I'll go back to my bigger brush and really intensify that dark purple over there. And go inside a bit more. There we go. And now I'll go back to the red and blend those together so that we can slowly go do the border there. it will look very dark. That's normal. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'm just gonna finish the darker part over here. Okay. Now, we are going to go back to the yellow. So we'll take a clean brush and work on that yellow now. We will work on sections so that we'll be able to blend everything before it dries out. So I decide that this is my first section, so there we go with the yellow. And then I'm gonna take the orange and blend them together. Going over the red that we used on the base layer to have a very nice gradient, and then we're taking the red and going full in. If we need to mix the red and the orange a bit more, we just go back to the orange and add more rather than going down with the red, because we'll lose the orange if we do that. And then we add our red and mix it with the purple we added just earlier. I'm gonna add a bit more of that orange here to blend them more. And if I see that I went too far down, I just take a clean brush and lift the paint. Nice. We go back to the yellow and we keep on going. Same thing. Here we can see that the dot of blue is making the yellow dirty. That's fine, we just lift it and we keep going like it never happened. Then we go with the orange. I'm gonna take my other brush again because this is a big section. I go up over the red. Now I'm taking the red. It's always the same thing. Go back to the orange to blend them a bit more, and then to the purple. You can see that I have a bit of purple going all the way there, so I'm just gonna take my cloak thing up and I'll clean them as I go. That's totally fine. So as it's going to be the same thing for the last part of the section, I'm just going to add some music and let's finish this together. If you want to make it a bit more interesting, instead of doing that simple circle we did earlier, you can always go a bit more into the center with the red, so that it doesn't just look like an outline, because that's not very interesting to the eye. So I am more or less satisfied with the outline we did. I will be working this part a little bit more once it's dry. For now, I'm just gonna go back to the middle and just erase some of the texture we have that I don't really like, especially with the medium blue around here and here. So I'm just gonna do that quickly. Okay, so I'm going to let this completely dry because there are some things I want to touch up, but I will need to wait until it's dry. So for now we can start doing the other side, which is this one. As a starter, we'll do exactly the same as we did earlier, with starting using them only as pastels. So let's just start. We will do the lightest one, yellow one on top. So these are like clouds of light, adding some spots. And to be honest, the little spots that we're adding now will be the hardest parts to paint on later. Not even gonna lie about this, it's a struggle. I'll just extend the red a little bit because the red and the medium blue will be somewhat touching in the middle. And then we'll go with our blue one over here. Whoops, everything is shaking. I'm sorry, I need to buy a tripod that doesn't shake. I've been searching for one a little bit, but I can't find anything that's like really having only good reviews, so I will be finding something soon because I know some people feel kind of sick when the camera is moving that much, and I'm really sorry about that. I will find a solution very soon. Okay, so we have our two shapes. We can add a very little bit of the yellow right in the middle to create very light green. And now we just need to take our purple and go everywhere. I won't be recording this because you know it's gonna shake. Everything is gonna shake, so I'll see you in a sec. There we go. So, and same thing as earlier. As you can see, by the way, now that that is fully dried, almost, all the imperfections I was seeing earlier are not there anymore. Maybe just a bit more blend over here, but I think all in all, this looks very cute. I'm happy about this. I do think that it looks better in the circle format, but that is just my preference. So, let's take a clean brush with clean water and we'll start with the yellow. So we will be working inside out again to keep the light. Work like this and then out. Try not touching the red already now, just activate the orange and we'll go for each color separately. Again, if you can avoid touching the purple now, it's better. Now the red is very pigmented, so what we can do is take a clean brush, a wet clean brush, and just go back and lift a bit of that. There we go. Very nice. Because for this kind of more, I guess it's a nebula too, but we really would like to keep the light that comes from inside of those little parts. So that's very, very important that we do not mix the very dark color with the other ones right away on the base layer, because that is going to be a problem later. There we go. We're going to do the same with the blue one. See, that's kind of a very light green. It's kind of pretty. And then we go for the cyan. And the blue. If the cyan and the medium blue mix together, it's not that bad, since they don't have such a different value, but for here it's very important. There we go. Up. Okay. And now we will activate all the outside. So we do activate the purple. If we can get a bit of mixing, it's cool. If the purple comes in too much, we just lift it. And we continue our way. Again, texture, it's all okay. Doesn't need to be perfect. I would advise that for the small light particles, you don't go activate the purple all the way to the red. Just leave a little bit of space so that we have space to work with later when we want to have that glowy effect. I wasn't lying when I told you these are trust the process paintings. This is crazy. That's why it's so funny when I go outside and I paint, because sometimes people just come and check my stuff and I'm like, you're just looking at mud and tar, you know? You know that it's going to be magic in the end, but for now it's just mud and tar, you know? It's not pretty. That's the magic of traditional art. I don't have that feeling as much with digital, even though my sketches always look very like my characters. They look kind of sick in a very bad way. It's the art process. It is what it is. And now with the clean brush, we're just going to slightly mix those two to create a purpley shade, and there we go. Crazy to think that this will become this. Ain't that insane? So again, we'll just let this completely dry, and I'll take this moment to just go back and add a bit more of purple here. I really don't like that red. And maybe a bit there. Oh no, I went under the Scotch tape with my brush. That's gonna be pretty. Okay, cool. I'm not gonna work too much on this because that's how you make your art ugly, is by overworking it. Please don't. Just maybe gonna add this here. Don't overwork it, but please add a little bit of this here. Makes exactly a lot of sense. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to my smaller brush and I'll start working on the inside of this yellow galaxy cloud. Also be careful when you're using the yellow ochre one. It tends to get really dirty, so if it does, you just take your brush, add water, clean the brush, and then you can go back and start. You know, you just whoop, and then it's ready to be used, because it tends to get really dirty, because your fingers get dirty and then you touch it and you know. Okay, so we are adding a bit of yellow there. Then we'll take the orange, always the same process, to be honest. You go with the darker color, you blend those guys together. This, like, the thought they had with the color palette is really insane, because those colors, but even if you're a beginner and you're scared you won't be able to blend those colors, they just blend like a dream. Like, they chose the perfect colors. That's insane. Again, like I did before, I'm gonna add the red on the outside, then go back to my orange and blend in the middle, so that we don't look I cannot talk, so that we don't lose the orange to the red. Go back to the red. And again, guys, I'm just showing you my process. If you think the way I do it is a bit weird or out of your comfort zone, you can always take what you want as advice and do your thing. You know, if doing sections like I'm doing right now doesn't feel right to you, please do as you wish. Because I know it can be a bit annoying to just go back, comes back with the darker color and go back to the light one. I know it's a process, and some people either don't have the patience or they just don't have fun doing it that way, and that's completely fine. Now I'm gonna go back to the yellow for the little specks of colors. I'm gonna do a circle like this, clean my brush, and wet the middle so that I keep a very light source, I guess. Then I'll take my orange, do the outside. I'm not blending these too much because I'm really scared to be losing the very light yellow in the middle. And then I'm gonna go with the red. And you can see why I wanted to not go with the purple really too close to the red, so that now I can take my red and really blend it with the purple. Very nice. I'm just gonna go back to the orange a little bit more. Yes, I like this. Okay. That was me and my pet wasp. I wasn't in the mood to pet him, so he had to go. Where was I now? Oh man. So yeah, I think I was to my yellow and my light sources. I don't know what's up with the wasps and hornets this year. It's insane. They're always coming over here. Like, we usually have issues with, well, issues is a big word. Like, they always come and visit us because we live in a very nature zone. It's full of forests and vines and things like that, so we're used to that. But this year it's just insane. I had hornets, and we never see hornets. Wasps is one thing, but hornets, hornets. Yeah, that wasn't an issue the other year, so I had to find so many ways to just keep them away. Like, they wouldn't be building a nest. I don't know what they would do. They would just come. Ugh. I tried to burn coffee, like coffee ground, and it stinks and it's toxic for the cat. So I was like, okay, no, it's not a good idea. And the only thing that seems to work is lemons with how is it called? Clover? Those things? Yeah. Plain water, and I spray them because I'm not I like nature, so I'm not gonna be mean to creatures just to be like mean to animals just to be mean to them, but I'm a bit scared. And funnily enough, hornets, if you spray them with water, they just leave. They're like, oh, they don't want me here, I'm leaving. But the wasps, they just come back to you and try to kill you. It's like, I'm gonna get hate for this, but it's like the small chihuahuas. If you're like being mean to them, they want to kill you, but like the big Doberman, they don't give a crap, you know. Anyways, so I'm gonna go back to my yellow. I'm gonna work on the blue zone now so that I can have this green, and I don't want the green to be too dark. So once it's put in there, I'm gonna lift it, and it leaves a very subtle green color. And then I'm gonna go to my cyan, and as always, we keep on doing the same thing. We keep on keeping on. I don't know if you can really see, but like here it's a clear example of how granulated the cyan is. Can you see it over here? It's very granulated, and I know the brand of watercolor that I use, Schminke, they do granulated watercolor, but I just can't. I don't know, maybe I'm just scared because I don't know how to work with them, but like, I don't know guys. Maybe someday I will be using granulated watercolor, but if you are using them, I'd be curious to know what you paint with those granulated watercolor. Well, you can tell me in the comments. I'd be very curious to know, because I love a very smooth result. I've been trying to work with texture and like texture for some months now, and guys, I'm trying. For some things, I must say it makes the work more interesting because it's not just very smooth. But dang, it ain't my jam. Okay, so now that I added the medium blue, I'm just gonna go back to the cyan as always and mix it with the medium blue. There we go. And see, because the cyan is granulated, it does leave more texture than, for example, the yellow over there. So maybe I was right, it's the cyan and like the blue shades that are granulated. Probably is. Now, same thing with these. Medium blue. Okay, there we go. Now, for the part that I'm sure is stressing y'all the most is adding all the purple everywhere. So I switched to my bigger brush, and honestly, it's not that hard. What I would suggest doing, what I do, I take a clean brush. I'll go back to my darker shade, which is the red one, and add on the contour of my shape. And then while it's still wet, I'm gonna take my purple and work on it and try to blend them. Maybe go back to the red, and like I told you, it's always the same thing, and blend them together. There we go. And then we do the same thing for everything. Light source, red, and then I'll take my purple and I go around and blend them, go back to the red. I think you've got how it works now, so I think I'm gonna add music again and we can work on this all together because I don't know what to talk about. Let's go. So now that I've done the base thing, you can see that my shapes are very, I like from the start of this video, I can't remember the word I'm trying to say. Like my shapes, you can see that they're looking like a kind of a square and a circle, and see how less pretty that is compared to the original where it's more like a cloud. So that's the perfect example of this. Looks a lot prettier than this. Not prettier, but more interesting, because these are just shapes that looks like shapes and not clouds, if it makes sense. So let's just say it's a happy mistake, because now you can see what I meant. Now it's just left to trying to go back and blend the colors a bit more. So it's really tiny work. We just go back. Try when doing those more like detail work not to add too much water to your ink, because again you take the risk of reactivating once underneath, and that won't really work. I will not be working on those shapes again. I think they're the perfect example of what I was trying to explain, and how less interesting it is compared to more random shapes. So I really do think it's a happy accident. Now you can see what I meant. And you know what? If yours looks like this and more like, oh my god, I'm so mad I can't remember the word I'm trying to say. Like made on purpose shapes, that's okay. It happens sometimes, and you've got to still like what you're doing and be like, oh, now I know that next time I'll have to be careful. Okay, so while this is drying, we can go back to the first one we did and add some details with the stars. So I'm just going to take a piece of paper to protect the other side. There we go. I will be using what I use all the time, which is Winsor & Newton white calligraphy ink, and for me it's like the best. Okay, so before adding all the stars, we will be working on some small stars that we want to make a bit glowy. So what I usually do is take a bit of my is this dry? Wait, I'm gonna add that afterwards. A bit of white with a bit of water. You can use white gouache or a white gel pen, completely fine. White watercolor isn't opaque enough. You could even add acrylics if ever really you don't have anything else. But watercolor isn't really opaque and it doesn't have the same effect. So I'm just working on a glow. I will be doing a big star over there. Maybe adding one here. That's like the best part. Adding those little stars. It's like the audio on TikTok. It's like a reward. Is it not? Do we add one more? Maybe here. And here. Let's do that. Okay, so those are just gonna be single little dot stars. Well, that was a big one. Wait, no, that was too big. There we go. There we go. And now for this one, I'm gonna paint a small star. It's hard without being shrimping. I'm gonna shrimp a little bit, so if I disappear, it's normal. I'm gonna shrimp over my paper. Not the best star, but it's fine. Okay, so gonna shield this. Gonna take my clean brush, make it just damp a little bit up. Okay. If you see that it's doing very big stars, it's because it's too wet. And you can go on your paper towel and go back. And if you have big stars, like I've got there, and you don't want them, you just go with a clean brush. You pick it up. There we go. And this one. There we go. Now I'm just gonna add a few by hand. Again, I wouldn't advise on adding too much by hand because we can see that it's been done by hand because they're not very random. Just a few, maybe I'm gonna add another big one here. There. we are. So that we are done with the first one. There we go. Looks very cute. And again, we are going to use that to shield after. We are just going to add all of the glowy stars as well as the constellations before we add the whole thing of stars. So we just choose a spot to add the glowy effect. So here am I gonna add a star. There we go. What I did on my original paintings, I just added a lot of very small dots to simulate clusters of stars. And then for the constellations, I'll add one here maybe. Oh, I did a double line there. Whoops. Oh, that's gonna be too thick. That's okay. It's very hard doing those precise things without being completely over the paper, but you wouldn't see anything if I was to do that, so it is what it is. Just gonna add a big star here. Up. So yeah, it doesn't look as dainty as usual, but you get the gist of it. I'm usually shrimping over my paper so hard. My poor neck. But that's the only way I can see what I'm doing. Doing YouTube is still very new to me, and I don't know how some artists are able to do very precise work without being scrunched over. No clue. I could never. Okay, so I'm adding those small constellations, and sometimes what I like to add as well, so I'm just gonna add one more here. And instead of doing one more line, I'm just gonna do like a line of stars. I think that's pretty cute. I'm gonna add some more here, maybe for this one. Okay, I think that's enough. Yeah. So we're gonna add the clusters, like the whole stars. And as before, I'm just gonna add some stars by hand. I don't think they need too much, to be honest. And there we go. We have our two galaxy themed paintings. They do look slightly different from the originals that I have here. Again, painting on camera is still a bit pressuring to me, and it's hard to take time to do it, and I still need to figure things out, is what I'm trying to say, because I don't want to be boring, but at the same time I want to propose something nice to create. Because I think this took me probably longer than the hour and almost a half I did to make these, because I'm not pressured, you know. So I still hope you like this. I'm very happy about how they look. We're just going to take the tape off. And I know it's not gonna be clean lines because I went under the tape with my brush. That's fine. Still looks cute. Here is gonna be horrible. Yeah, there's like a big bump over here. That's so silly. Oh, it's not that bad. So there you go. So I hope you had fun recreating these cute galaxy themed paintings, and especially using those ink blocks because they're really special to use. Like, I've never seen anything like it. I think it's fun. It's not easy to get a hang of them because of the texture. Like, it's very creamy and granulating and all of that, but I really hope you had fun using them. If you try to recreate these, you can always tag me on social medias, whether it's TikTok or Instagram, or you can even DM me. I would love to see always if you try to recreate some like tutorial stuff or anything really. I don't know I don't know what the next tutorial is gonna be about for now. Those long format videos last year a bit stressful to me, you know. I need to figure things out. Then the next scrawlrbox video will probably be a short again because it is what it is for now. But yeah, anyways, I'm rambling to say nothing. I just hope you had fun. If you try to recreate these, I would love to see them. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, you can leave them in the comments. I would be very happy to answer. And yeah, I wish you a very nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.